Good evening, Facebook family and also YouTube family. Welcome to another session of Brian and Janice on this beautiful Sunday evening. We welcome you all, those of you who are joining us for the first time. We're so glad that you came on tonight, and also those that are with us quite often. We're thankful that you're here as well. We know that there's been a lot of talk going around about on December the 21st, people were supposed to get these phenomenal superpowers. What is it with the Saturn lining up, the moon, Saturn, Neptune, and all of that lining up. But we just want to today enlighten you on what is actually going on. Brian has done extensive research in this area, and he is more than happy to share with you exactly what is going on at this time.
Well, good evening, Facebook family. Good evening, YouTube family. I'm sure that you all have been tuning in to some of the YouTube shows that have been highlighting what has been called the Great Conjunction, which is simply the two planets that are perfectly aligned with one another. So as we kind of go into this subject and talk about this subject, I think it needs to be said that I do not profess to be an astrologer, but like Janice said, whenever you deal with spirituality, you cannot help but to also look into astrology.
That's right.
So, science is science, and whenever you deal with spiritual things, part of spirituality is understanding how things work, understanding the being and the existence and the essence of things. So when you consider that, you have to factor in the universe of what we call astrology,
Okay.
the study of the stars, so the study of the universe. So I'm happy to share some of the knowledge as it relates to this event that took place on December the 21st, which was also the winter solstice. We had the conjunction or the alignment of two planets. One planet was Jupiter, and the other planet is Saturn. But before I go into some of the characteristics of these planetary gods. And the reason that I call them planetary gods, because back in when we look at ancient texts as it relates to spiritual science, these planets actually ruled and they were worshipped by those that were considered to be who we know as human beings. Okay, so the significance of me calling the planets gods is in relation to understanding that the ancients saw planetary masses as gods. They saw them as having a significant role in the continued existence of humanity. And they understood that without certain energies being emitted from these solar gods,
Yes.
these universal gods, that humanity within itself would not function as it should, and also in some cases would actually not exist
Yes.
anymore. So when we talk about these two gods, Jupiter and Saturn, I'm going to define to you some of the characteristics of these planetary gods, and then we will talk about as well what the significance is as it relates to both of them lining up together in what some have said is the age of Aquarius, and we'll get into that as well.
Okay.
So let's start with the understanding of what is an age, because there's a lot of misinformation when we talk about what is an age. If I could, I want to go back to a Bible reference when Christ tells his disciples to go find the man with the water pitcher. Tell the man with the water pitcher that we have a need of the use of his upper room. Okay. The man with the water pitcher would be symbolically representative of Aquarius. Of the age of Aquarius, or moving into the age of Aquarius. We know that during this time, as the Bible story goes, that the Last Supper, the gathering of the Last Supper, will be the last meal that the Christ or the Messiah would have with his disciples. And from that point, the whole transitioning out of this particular plane into a spirit plane was taking place. There was a transition taking place. So the representation of the man with the water pitcher simply was symbolic of moving from one age to another age. Okay. So what is an age? An age is a Earth's precessional rotation. Okay. So what do I mean when I say precessional? Precessional is the slow pivot or the rotation that the Earth does on its axis. Okay. Typically, an age, scientists have said, takes about 2,160 years to transition in each constellational age. Okay, so we're talking about 2,160 years, moving from the age of Pisces. In the age of Pisces was represented by the two fish. Okay, and it is also known as the age of religion, because it is under this age that men developed dogmas, ideas, faiths, belief systems. All of those things happened up under the age of Pisces. Okay, meaning that man was governed and ruled under the constellation age of the Piscean constellation. In that, we see also with the development of religion, we also see the development of rule. We see the development of law. All of those things take place in the age of Pisces. Why? Because Pisces is an age of order, an age of structure, an age of ideology, okay? And it is also an age of theology, the study of God.
Yes.
It is when men began to look up and question, where is God? Who is God? What is God? Does God exist? Does God relate and interact to and with humanity? Okay, so the Piscean age is the age where the development of religion, the practice of religion goes forth, and we see that age very influential from the time of Christ up into this point. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So, like I said, an age represents the slow rotation of the Earth, and that normally takes about 2,160 years to move from one constellational age to another constellational age. One great year is considered to be 25,920 years. What is that? That is simply the movement of the Earth, from one age to the other age, covering the whole 12 zodiacs. Okay? So if you multiply 12 times 2,160, you're going to get 25,920 years. That is considered to be in astrological science known as one great year. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So the movement of from one constellation to another constellation typically takes about 200 to 300 years.
Okay.
From one zodiac sign to the other zodiac sign typically takes about 200 to 300 years. A constellational move typically takes about 2,160 years,
Okay.
and one great year through all 12 zodiacs takes about 25,920 years.
Got it.
Well, you got it.
Got it.
You're on it tonight. Okay, so now it's been said, and I do concur with this, just from research, just from study, that we are or have been in the age of Aquarius, or making the transition from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius now for some time. Okay. I personally believe myself, through my research, that roughly in about 19 more years, we will have made the full transition into the age of Aquarius. Okay. What is significant about the age of Aquarius? Aquarius, as it relates to the zodiac, is an air sign. Okay. So whenever you see air, typically you're going to think about knowledge. You think about something that is fresh. When you think about breathing, something that is invisible, that you cannot see, but something is transpiring. Something is happening. You can feel it.
You can feel it.
Okay?
Yes.
That's what the age of Aquarius, in short, represents. It represents a transformational change. You can't see it, but you can feel something different happening, not only with yourself, but in the earth. Okay? We can experience this change, this metamorphosis, this transformation by what happens within our spirit. The age of Aquarius is a transition from religion to spirituality as well. What does that mean, Brian? That means that we will not be subject to the rule of man's dogma and ideology. We will not adhere to man's rules, concepts, precepts, and ideology as we did in the past. That means that there will be a great falling away from religion. It means that people will begin to seek things higher than just the traditional man-made structure that we know as religion and church. What you will find in the age of Aquarius is people beginning to leave the church in search of a higher spiritual meaning concerning life and God. Okay? All right. So Aquarius, like I said, falls up under the air sign, which is symbolic of a spiritual transformation occurring that you can feel. The beautiful thing about being in the age of Aquarius, in this transition, as it moves from the Piscean age to the Aquarius age, is that individuality will be at its all-time high. You will find things out about yourself that you never knew. You're going to begin to study who you are, as opposed to accepting who people told you you are. Okay. There again, moving away from the concepts of religion, saying that you are this and that you are that, and that this is how you find your way into heaven, and this is what you do to be righteous. And no, people are going to become individually driven to find out who they are and who God is to them, not based off of what a preacher says or what religion dictates. Okay? So people will begin to look within themselves to understand the higher and deeper sense of who God is to them. So we would say, or we will call that, developing a personal relationship with God.
Yes.
That relationship, what we're going to find out in the age of Aquarius, goes much deeper than what just the Bible has said that we are. We have got to go a step farther now. It goes much deeper than just what the preacher says that I am according to the Bible. So the age of Aquarius allows our knowledge to expand, allows our individuality to expand. That's part of that transition. That is, I think, if I had to refer back to a scripture in the Bible, I would refer back to Romans 12, when Paul says, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. We know that mind in the old ancient concept, if we go back to the Yorubian concept, it comes out of the word ori, which means consciousness. Okay? We can go into a deeper meaning of that. The word ori, or the prefix ori, we get the word orishas, which means spirit. So if I put ori, orishas, you have spirit consciousness that will be at work over religion and dogma.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so we have a person that will operate under the age of Aquarius with a spirit consciousness, if that makes sense. A mind that says, no, there's something else that I need to discover about me. Okay. That has been missing and that the preacher cannot tap into. It is going to take me finding out through my spirit consciousness who I am and where I am transitioning to at this particular time in my life. So very powerful in essence. It also, in saying that, means that a person will be able to express freedom and liberation like they never have before. Let me say this, what the Aquarian age is going to do is it is going to set people free from being afraid to step out and do some things that they've never done. It is going to release them from the stronghold of having to do things a certain way in order to be successful. That was up under the age of Pisces. There was laws, rules, regulations that dictated how you should do what you should do in order to be successful. It fell also up under what I said, man's law. Okay, that's what religion is. Religion is man's law. The Piscean age was governed by that. The Aquarian age, totally opposite. It's not going to be governed by that. It is going to allow people to have a free spirit to explore for themselves what is the right thing, the right way, the right person. Whatever they want to do is going to allow them to be in position to have no fear on stepping out and saying, I'm going to do this.
Oh, wow.
Now, here's a secret. Don't tell everybody what you're going to do. Just do it.
That's it.
In the age of Aquarius, you do not have to be verbal. You don't have to get the approval of somebody. You don't have to get affirmation, confirmation. What you have to do, if you simply step out and say that I'm going to do this, then the transitional energy from one age to the other in the energy of the constellation Aquarius will actually fuel your effort into doing what you want to do.
Wow.
Into liberating yourself, into being a free thinker, into being a spirit consciousness that goes beyond just what you think or feel that you have been taught. Okay? So, in experiencing this, being in this age, there is no right or wrong. Very powerful. Very, very powerful, because the right and wrong concept falls back up under the Piscean age. It falls up under the rule and the governance of law. Okay? Aquarius, spirit consciousness. Okay? You're ruled, you're governed by the precepts of the universe that liberates you and allows you to go higher. Okay? All right. So that within itself is just a brief synopsis as it relates to understanding what an age is. And as we actually come into the age of Aquarius. Okay. So if by calculations we are right, and when I say we, looking at some of the scientific data, my research myself, like I said, I would say we are roughly about 19 years from the full transition into the age of Aquarius. Okay. But we are over 90%.
Yes. Yeah.
There, as it relates to being in that transitional period. Now, let me say this. With the Great Conjunction, you see two planetary gods. You see Jupiter and you see Saturn. Saturn as a planetary god was one that was very harsh. Okay, Saturn in ancient times also was known as the father. Okay, so Saturn governed. His energy is like the energy of a father. If you mess up, I'm going to correct you. Okay, his energy is one of discipline, one of order. Okay, so if you were very obedient, you were very successful. If you bucked the system, then you had a lot of struggles and hardships. Okay, so now with the Great Conjunction, with Saturn being there, and that energy being there, Jupiter being there, there's a conflict, there's a battle, there's a struggle with the energy from Saturn and the energy from Jupiter. What is it? Jupiter in ancient times was known as the god of all gods. It is the planetary god. It is the planet that rules all other planets. Okay, very, very powerful. Jupiter, because of its gold color in nature, was considered to be a royal god. Also, Jupiter, because of the size, was considered to be an expanded god. So the energy that comes from Jupiter flows like that. It expands. So if you are successful up under the energy of Jupiter, it expands. You could be very successful. You understand? If you fall in love under the energy and the planetary god of Jupiter, love can be over the top. It could be something that you've never experienced before and be the most wonderful thing that's ever happened to you in your life. Okay? Also vice versa. If you are having hardships and a lot of struggles up under the energy of Jupiter, then you can also experience a multitude of many more struggles coming.
Yes.
Okay, so keep that in mind as we, as we're talking about this. So those two energies, even though we're looking at the Great Conjunction, we're looking at a perfect alignment between Jupiter and Saturn in the Aquarian age. We have to understand that there are pros and cons, just like there are with everything. So you have to shift your consciousness to be able to receive the best energy from Saturn, Jupiter, and the age that they are now sitting in, which is Aquarius. Okay? Shifting out of, transitioning out of Pisces. Okay? So very powerful Facebook family, very, very powerful YouTube family. And I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible so that you get something in as practical as possible so that you understand exactly, how you yourself as an individual can function and be successful going into this Aquarian age. It's very, very important.
I have a question, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
When you say, getting ourselves positioned, you know, some people may feel like during the previous time, in this current time, that they were positioned, and that they were, felt that they were the best that they could be. But we all strive to be even better. Everybody wants to be better. Every day you want to strive to be better than you were yesterday. So my question is, what makes this different?
That's a good question. What makes this different as it relates to going into a different age is the energies that are transmitted via those planetary gods and that constellational God. Constellational God meaning the Aquarian age that we're transitioning into, and the planetary gods meaning Saturn and Jupiter. So when you know how Saturn operates, when you understand that Saturn restricts, it judges, it teaches, it acts as what it is, it acts as a corrector, then you understand that that energy coming by way of the energy of Jupiter, that you still have to be mindful in order to receive good fortune by way of those energies, particularly Saturn. You have to be mindful to correct yourself so that that energy can bring you good fortune.
Yes.
Okay. If the energy of Saturn has to correct you, then it can be very harsh. It can be
kind of like what people say sometimes, karma?
Sort of, kind of. Okay. Yes, but it could be considered to be karma. Okay. So what goes around comes around. We know that that's a universal law.
Yes.
Okay. So yes. So Saturn can act as the karma energy. Absolutely. Okay. Something else that is significant about Saturn. Saturn is also known as or known to transmit the energy of oppression. Okay. Saturn energy produces people that labor without receiving many benefits and then dying in the end. Okay, so now if you fall up under the labor class, being controlled or ruled by the energy of Saturn, then that can transcend to laboring without receiving much, and then eventually dying in the end, never really having achieved anything. That is part of the energy of Saturn. So we have to be careful when we talk about planetary rules and how we are governed concerning the energy that comes from each of these planetary gods. Okay, so that's what we would have to do different. Okay, we would have to correct ourselves and understand that if the energy of Saturn corrects me,
it's going to be
it could be very harsh. So you would have to be responsible. You would have to be accountable enough to say, hold up, I need to go back and make this right. Okay, I need to go back, and whatever I need to do as it relates to whatever the situation, be it a person, be it a job, whatever it is that you need to do, then you need to correct that. Wow. Okay, so that would be the difference. Up under Jupiter, the same thing, because even though Jupiter transmits that expansion energy, okay, which allows you to be very successful, very wealthy. If you're operating in those things already, then they just expand under the energy of the royal god, Jupiter, of the planetary god that rules all planets. Okay, it expands. You can become more of that. But if you use, by the same token, those gifts to mistreat, to abuse the system, then you could suffer the detriment of that. Okay? It could expand into you being judged now under the energy of the judger, which is Saturn. Okay, so you fall back to that energy now. Okay, Jupiter expands, okay, aligned with Saturn. Now the energy of Saturn, whatever you do, magnified, okay, if it falls up under judgment and discipline and restriction, then guess what? The energy of Saturn steps over the energy of Jupiter. So it's very unique in understanding, you see, how we function in the transitional change and with the planetary alignments of Saturn and Jupiter and the energy that they give and that they transmit. Okay. All right. So does that answer you?
Yes.
Okay.
It's awesome. Yes. So, with we are 19 and a half so years out. Does that, so we're way over halfway there. So we should be seeing some of that energy being released and transmitted.
We are seeing a lot of energy transmitted by way of the transition into the Aquarian age.
Okay.
Okay. Let me say this. One of the tell-all, I guess you would say, signs of the Aquarian age is technology. Okay. The Bible talks about a knowledge explosion in the last days.
It does, yes.
That we will achieve and experience being able to have knowledge.
More wisdom.
Not so much more wisdom, but more knowledge. Now, knowledge and wisdom
are
is
different.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So what is the difference, Brian, between knowledge and wisdom? The difference between knowledge and wisdom, knowledge is a lot of information without inspiration.
Right.
Okay. Wisdom is knowledge and information with inspiration that you apply to your life.
I was going to say application.
Okay. That you apply to your life and then produces an individual that becomes better than they once were.
Okay.
That corrects themselves. Okay. That can go back and ask for forgiveness if they need to, that can forgive others. So that's what wisdom does. That doesn't return to the mistake that they once made. Okay, that's wisdom.
So you're basically correcting yourself. You
have to correct yourself. So you can have knowledge of what you did that was wrong and not do anything about it, and it's not wisdom. You understand? So now, when we look at this, okay, and we look at this power that's being transmitted to us, we have to have all things firing on the same cylinders, if you will, and that's
That's Sister Barbara. Hey, Barbara.
So what is Barbara asking? The correction laws of the universe. So we were taught, Aquarius comes, we no longer have to rely on the laws of man or the teaching of the religion. That is correct. Let me answer Barbara's question.
Okay.
Okay, so Barbara is asking about the Piscean age. Under the Piscean age, we fell under the laws of religion, which means the precepts, the concepts, the dogma, and the ideology of man putting doctrines in place to govern man.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So they were moral laws that says you cannot do this, you cannot do that.
You
okay?
must do
there
this.
were certain restrictions that were applied. There were certain ways you had to act to be considered to be a good Christian, all of those things. Now, up under the Piscean age, those laws, because of the Piscean energy, they absolutely worked.
They worked.
Okay? Now, up under the Aquarian age, transitioning out of Pisces, you're going to find that law has less power over the actions of man, and spirituality tends to govern over laws, rules, and regulations that are written down for man to follow. You understand that? Okay. So that is the difference, Sister Barbara. So under the Aquarian age now, you're going to be free to be released from those dogmas of man that says you have to act a certain way, you have to do a certain way to be saved, to be righteous. Those were just dogmas. They were not laws of facts. They were not laws of absolute truth. Okay? What I would say absolute truth. What they were laws that were put in place to govern man so that the government of religion could rule. That's what that was. Okay? And up under the government of religion, men had to follow certain protocols to be included in that government. That's simply what the church structure is. Okay? It is the same thing. All right. So now that we're transitioning out of that, you are free to liberate yourself from that. You are free to have a spirit conscience that says there's something not right about you being able to do something wrong and not be judged. And I do the same thing and I'm judged. Okay. So you hear the old concept, the preacher says you would do as I say, not as I do. That is a falsity. Okay. That's what you have in church. That's why church hypocrisy is greater than any other organization in the world. Church hypocrisy. Most people that are in the church are known hypocrites. Okay, don't look so funny, baby. Okay, it's just what it is. We've all been there. We all have done that. Okay, so now, listen. You do not have to fall up under that hypocrisy anymore. You do not have to be ruled and governed by a set of precepts and concepts that does not advance you spiritually. And most of those laws and precepts, because they're not applicable to all people, they're only applicable to some people, they are very confusing. Okay? Spirituality does not confuse. Okay?
Okay.
Spirituality does not set precepts in place that are not governed by the universe. So spirituality is governed by the universe. Everything falls up under the laws of spirituality. And they are not written only in a book. Spirituality is ruled and written in the spirit consciousness of every individual that is a created being that says they have an awareness of God. So now spirituality produces questions within an individual that makes him ask himself, who is God? Where is God? And how can I know God? That leads back to the question of who am I? What am I? And how can I know myself? So the individual that knows themselves ultimately finds God. That's what spirituality will do as it relates to this Aquarian transition away from Piscean rule up under the rule of man's dogma and laws. Okay?
Okay.
It sets us free. It liberates our spirit. It takes us to the next phase that allows us to get answers that we've always had questions about. Okay? That allows the answers to come that we've always had questions about.
Yes.
Okay? So that's, Sister Barbara, I hope that helped you. All right? Let's look at, I want to look at a couple of more things.
Okay.
All right, before we look at Kwanzaa here. But also, Sagittarius, okay, and Capricorn. I want to talk to my Sagittariuses, those that are Sagittarius, and those that are Capricorn. I want to talk to you all just for a few minutes. And the reason that I want to talk to you is because Jupiter governs Sagittarius, Saturn governs Capricorn. Let me say that again. Jupiter governs a rule, Sagittarius, and Saturn governs and rules Capricorn. In the age of Aquarius, in the planetary alignment, I need my Capricorns to be mindful of your planetary God in the energy that comes forth from your planetary God in an age that is all expansive concerning knowledge and concerning your deeds and concerning what you do. Being that Saturn governs Capricorn, Saturn is going, it could throw my Capricorns into a whirlwind.
Tailspin, yeah.
Okay? Because you've got one energy pulling against the other energy. Capricorns typically are very, very strategic people. They're very meticulous. They're good managers.
Yes.
Okay? They when they put their minds to something, they normally get it done. Okay? That's one side of the spectrum. On the other side of the spectrum, if a Capricorn is very disorganized, then they're all the way on that side. They can't seem to function in any capacity and stay with whatever their goals are that they want to accomplish. So up under in this Aquarian age, with Saturn being aligned with Jupiter, Capricorns need to be careful, okay? Because judgment can hit them very, very hard in this Aquarian age with their planetary god aligned with Jupiter in this age, okay? So Capricorns, hey, be careful. Now, the thing is, also under this age, once the Capricorns, if they began to do something that they want to do that is going to produce greater things for them, that is very constructive, guess what? Up under the universal energy, it's going to be very successful.
Very successful, okay.
But here's the key. You got to stick with it. You cannot allow people to distract you at this time. People, for Capricorns, will be a roadblock in this age.
Wow.
Okay? All right, so I need my Capricorns to recognize that. My Sagittarius can be very bold. They can be very blunt. They can be very harsh at times, but also Sagittarius are very truthful. Okay?
Oh, yes.
If you don't want to know something about yourself, don't go ask the Sagittarius because they're going to tell you just like it is.
I have a daughter that's a Sagittarius.
So my Sagittarius, I need you to understand, being governed and ruled by the God of all planets, which is Jupiter, you need to also be very careful in this age of Aquarius where knowledge is exploding. Sagittarius, if you are very harsh, then you're going to fall up under the energy of Saturn, even though you're ruled by Jupiter, and you will be judged very harshly.
Wow.
So Sagittarius, I need you to understand that. Okay? Does everybody understand that? Okay.
Got my head hurting.
Okay. Don't mean to have your head hurting. It's just what it is. Okay. So this is the spiritual power that we're operating under now. Okay. It is awesome because, like I said, it is not something that you have to actually pick up and read. You're going to be able to feel it. Remember,
wow.
Aquarius is an air sign.
It's an air
So
sign.
that means that I can feel the energy. Yes.
Yeah.
I know something is present. I know something is happening. I know something is different. Listen, this is the perfect time to follow your first mind. That spirit consciousness that tells you to do or not to do, listen to it.
Yes.
Do not ignore it because 90% of the time it is going to be correct in this age. Because you're not governed by law anymore, you're governed by spirit. Okay? All right. So
I like that, Brian. Thank you.
Yes.
Wow.
Any questions?
What about for those of us that are not under Sagittarius or Capricorn?
We'll go into that another time. Okay?
Are we just
but
gonna be?
You're in the Aquarian age, so
Okay.
it doesn't matter. I mean, you're still in the Aquarian age.
So both apply to us. I mean,
okay.
we can utilize both.
No, you're in the Aquarian age. You're not ruled by those planets, okay?
Okay.
If you are a different zodiac sign, which we could talk about the different zodiac signs. I don't mind doing that. We can have a deep discussion on the zodiac signs. They are very significant, okay? But you are still, every zodiac sign now is rotating in the age of Aquarius. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Got it.
So, and we could talk about the different planetary gods that rule the different zodiacs.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And discuss even more how, when you look in your Bible, to recognize and understand some things as it relates to the stars, because something that is very powerful is that, and I want everybody to understand this: as above, so below. Everything happens in the heavens first. What does that mean? That means that what the stars are doing, what the planets are doing, then it actually manifests down here in the earth. Okay? So that is very significant, that what happens above manifests down below, so below. You have to look to the stars first and understand what's going on down here. Okay? So it's not uncommon to see the shift and the transition and the struggle right now between the politicians.
Wow.
As it relates to Trump and Biden. Why? Because you also have the same planetary struggle as it relates to Jupiter and Saturn. They are both very powerful gods, but both very different. Who do you see that we say now politically we're seeing the same? Trump and Biden, two different sides of the coin.
Yes.
Okay, but both have great power and authority. They're the same as Jupiter and Saturn. So when you see that alignment in the struggle with the energy that's going on up there, the same thing is happening down here.
It's like I'm hearing people say, I've never seen the political arena like it is now. We've never had an election as traumatic and traumatizing to people as this one. So it does make you wonder.
Everything that happens down here first happens in the heavens. So there's a struggle going on. There's a struggle between the gods as it relates to the transition from one age to the next. Also, that is very relevant concerning the struggle between moving from the Piscean age into the Aquarian age. There's a change. So anytime you have struggle, anytime you have change, I mean, you're going to have struggle. Okay?
Yes.
All right. So we have the struggle now as we move from one age, constellation age of Pisces, into another constellation age, Aquarius. So you have a 4-tier struggle going on. You have Jupiter and Saturn struggle going on, and you have the Piscean and Aquarian struggle going on, because all of them are transitioning. Change is happening with all of them.
Wow.
Okay? One is moving and taking over the other.
Wow.
Okay. So
Barbara said wow too. I'm wow, Barbara.
So what is happening in the heavens is manifesting in the earth. That's why you see the political struggle. And it's not just with Biden, you see it in the schools, the struggle from virtual to the classroom.
Yes.
I can go on and on.
Economic,
you see it in finances, that's right.
Yes.
The struggle from having much money, now trying to save money, now trying to conserve money, now trying to get money. There's a shift, there's a struggle. Why? Because that is what's happening in the heavens. Okay.
Oh, wow. I got it.
All right. So good deal.
Wow. I know y'all didn't want that to end. I don't want it to end because he has so much more. Believe you me, he has so much more. And I want it all. I want to know more, Brian.
And what we could talk about, the Kemetic. I really want to talk about some of the African concepts of cosmology and the universe, because all things start from there. See, what we know, the names that we call our zodiacs, Taurus, Aries, Aquarius, Pisces, Gemini, those are Greek names. So they are taken from the African cosmological wheel.
Yes.
Okay, which that wheel represents the circle of all things that exist. It goes from the galactic to the universal to the planetary to the physical, which that's what realm you and I exist in. But it covers everything. And it deals with the 12 signs of the zodiacs, the 12 star constellations that we call zodiacs. In the Bible, the prophet called it Pleiades, which means zodiacs. Okay, so we could talk about all of that and discuss that and really help people understand what they're dealing with on a spiritual level now, because everything will be governed by spiritual law. It will be universal. Okay, so we can help people to understand that, as opposed to them having to struggle still with man's law and falling short all the time.
Wow.
You know, getting up, falling back down, getting up, falling back down.
Keep
That
trying things,
cycle comes to an end now.
Wow.
Okay, if they understand the shift that's happening in the heavens. Okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
All right, guys.
I'm going to do a watch party after this show. So for those of you that came on late, it's always on my Facebook page. You can go back and watch any of the shows. We've been doing this since May, but May of 2019. But I'm going to put this one, I'm going to share it tonight. So in about, 15, 20 minutes it should be up, Brian? Because we always watch it first. Well, we'll just do a watch party and we'll watch it with you guys. So I want everybody to share, tell somebody, share it with somebody. You know, I'm not trying to tell anybody what to believe and what not to believe. That is not what we're doing. Brian is giving you research, scientific, proven facts that are you can find them out for yourself. You can study it for yourself.
Or you can just go outside and look up at the stars.
That's right.
It's simple. You know, it's really simple. Some things are going to come by way of transmission through the energy of the ancestors and the planets. Okay, so some things, like I said, all you got to do is start tuning in to what's happening in the heavens, what's truly happening.
It really is.
Okay.
I mean, for those of you that didn't watch the Saturn,
the conjunction.
I saw it. I mean, I didn't actually know what I was looking at, but I saw that brightness. It was an extreme brightness. But for people that had a telescope, they could actually see it.
Yeah, you can see the separation still in the alignment, the perfect alignment with the two planets, which the scientists say they are still 456 million miles apart, but they are the closest that they've ever been since 1623.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we have to feel something, don't we?
Oh yeah, you're gonna feel
that shit.
At one time in the ancients' time, Saturn was the closest planet to the Earth. That's why Saturn was called Father, or Abba, in the Hebraic tongue, Abba, which means father, okay? Or which also translate, if you go, Baha, which means the house of the Father, okay? So that's a whole nother subject, but we could get into that. Spirituality, the stars tell us everything, okay? They tell us everything. Everything that we need to know as it relates to how religion even came into existence based off of a spiritual concept. Okay? So what was it that when men began to pen what they call tenets of faith, they were simply lessons, mythologies, as it relates to ancient stories that were passed down based on the stars. Okay, what happens in the heavens manifests below. Okay.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Did you want to give a brief?
Well, no, we can do that another time.
Okay.
But we would just say Happy Kwanzaa.
Yes, definitely. Happy Kwanzaa to those
to everyone
who celebrates Kwanzaa.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And that started on the 26th and it goes through January the 1st. And if you're burning your candles, remember to recite each day what that Kwanzaa day is and what it represents. The word Kwanzaa is a Kiswahili word that means beginning. Okay? Means beginning. When this was created by Dr. Karinga created Kwanzaa in hopes of unifying African Americans across the globe relating to establishing their own culture. Okay, so that's in short what Kwanzaa is. But all of those that are celebrating Kwanzaa, kudos.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us tonight. And like I said before, please share this video with as many people as you would like. We appreciate you being here. And you also can watch us on YouTube, Men and Women of Destiny. We are also on YouTube. Brian and Janice, we love you guys. Have a safe and happy holiday. And just know we love you. And we'll see you in New Year.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.